So I'm 19, working at IKEA. IKEA
Okay.
San Diego, building furniture, working their front end,
Oh, gotta love it.
you
Gotta
know,
love it.
living the IKEA life. And I meet a girl. And so I meet this girl. She was a roommate of another girl that I worked with at IKEA. And I was like, oh, I just like, I fell in love, like love at first sight. And so a bunch of us from IKEA went to Six Flags Magic Mountain, and I kind of hung out with them. And so then we, started talking, and we start dating. And so then we're officially a thing. So 6 months we're dating, and we're having dinner one night, and she says, "Hey, so we've been dating now for like 6 months. My dad wants to meet you." And I
Okay.
was like, "Oh," I was like, "Okay, cool." Like, yeah, I've been wondering when that was going to happen. He's like, "Okay, so he'll come like next week. He'll come down from Orange County down to San Diego, and then we'll have dinner." Okay, cool. So, you remember the movie Meet the Parents?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that movie was, I think it was like out during this time. Like, I
Okay.
think that we even saw it together, like on a date. And so, in my mind, being an anxious person, I'm like, gosh, this could go bad, whatever. So, we have dinner the next week. He sits down, and he sits next to me, or across from me, and he's looking right at me. He goes, "So, you've been dating my daughter for 6 months now, right?" And I was like, "Yes, I have." And he goes, "So, I have a policy. Anybody who dates my daughter for 6 months has to get their brain scanned."
What?
Oh, yeah.
Hit the front door. Are
Yeah.
you serious? So I feel like it was just like before you even say it, I feel kind of like ha ha ha, got you. But why do I feel that you're about to tell me you had to go get a brain scan?
I did. I was like, so I kind of looked at him, and I was like, and I look over at, now my wife, and she just covers her head. She's like, "Oh no, you're not doing this, Dad. Like, no, you're not."
Oh my
And I was
god.
like, "Excuse me." He goes, "Yeah, no, I'm serious. Like, make an appointment. I'll give you my assistant. Come up to Orange County, and we'll get your brain scanned."
What the heck?
Okay, so she
Totally Robert De
failed to
Niro.
tell me in 6 months of dating that her dad is this like world famous psychiatrist who's written 40 books and like 20 or 12 New York Times bestsellers. He's like all over television. Um, yeah, so yeah, she didn't tell me any of this. So I learned this after the fact, and now I'm terrified. And I'm 6'4", and he's like 5 foot like four or something. I'm like, I tower over this guy, and I feel like the smallest nothing
What?
compared. So I drive up to Orange County, and I get my brain scanned. And so we're sitting in his office, and he's looking at my brain scan, and he goes, "Huh." And I'm like, "Oh, this is it. Like, it's done, right?" It's that bad. Like, it's not going to work. And he looks at me and goes, "Huh." He goes, "So I can tell by looking at your brain scan that you have the like predisposition to be stubborn or argumentative." So, Charles, like, what is the worst possible response to that statement? You have the
No.
predisposition to be stubborn and argumentative. What is the worst answer to that?
No, I'm not.
Yep. And it's exactly what I said. I crossed my arms. I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not stubborn." And then I look over, and my wife girlfriend at the time, she's like, "Oh no!" Like, again, like, you just like walked right into that, and he like kind of smirks and nods his head, and so like that moment right there. So you're talking, gosh, how old was I? 21 years old. That was one of the most like defining moments in my life, because it was the first time I had ever been shown this concept or idea that your behavior, how you function, how you interact, how you act, how you react, has to do with the moment by moment functioning of your brain.
Yeah.
So, having a mom with schizophrenia, and my dad hadn't taken his life at that point yet, but he was struggling with depression, with anxiety. That to me was this pivotal moment to go, "What is this? Like, how, from looking at this picture of my brain, could you tell that I'm stubborn and oppositional?" So
Yeah.
I wanted to work with him. So like I started doing clinical intakes and clinical histories, and I was like absorbed, and I was interviewing patients as they came in, and I got really heavy into it. And it was years of working with him that I then took this and said, I'm an educator at heart, which is so cool and great. And it's
Yeah.
also just really crappy, because I could be making so much more money if I was like going the entrepreneur route.
Yes.
But I'm
Yes.
I'm an educator at heart, and so my goal then became, this very white looking Mexican who comes from a broken home and a crazy family and poverty, who statistically should be dead, getting these amazing opportunities and the luck of the draw to be exposed to something so life changing. This has to be given to other people. And so that book is basically just that first attempt of
Yes.
how do you get people to understand that their brain matters, their brain function matters, and take care of it, because if you don't, you're screwing yourself over for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you know what? Wow. That is pretty wow. I'm kind of blown away because here I am thinking like, if my daughter brings a boyfriend in, I'm gonna check him like, bad boy scene with, you know, with what is it like Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, in Bad
Uh-huh.
Boys 2. But